My parents told me I'd never amount to anything without a college degree. Then my dropout brother became a millionaire, and suddenly, I was the family disappointment for having a PhD. I'm 31, spent 8 years getting my doctorate in environmental science. My brother Tyler's 28, dropped out sophomore year to start a pressure washing business. Growing up, I was the golden child. Straight A's, full scholarships, science fair wins, the whole package. Tyler barely graduated high school. His guidance counselor literally called our house to make sure he'd show up for finals. When he dropped out of college, my parents were devastated. My dad didn't speak to him for 2 months. My mom cried at book club, telling everyone her son was throwing his life away. They told him he'd be scrubbing toilets forever, that he'd regret not finishing his degree. I finished my bachelor's, then my master's, then pushed through a PhD program that nearly broke me, defended my dissertation on watershed ecosystems and contamination patterns, got hired as a researcher at a state environmental agency. I was proud. My parents were proud. Everything felt right. Fast forward 5 years. I'm making $67,000 a year, decent salary, good benefits, interesting work, but nothing flashy. I drive a 10-year-old Camry and rent a small apartment near campus. Tyler's business absolutely exploded. Started with 1 truck and a power washer. Now he's got 12 trucks, 30 employees, and contracts with half the commercial properties in the metro area. He's pulling in $40,000 a month, bought a house in cash, drives a Tesla, takes quarterly trips to Costa Rica, and suddenly, I became the failure. Every family dinner turned into the Tyler Show. My mom would post his business updates on Facebook with captions like, "So proud of my entrepreneurial son." My dad started every conversation with, "Tyler just landed another huge contract." When people asked about me, my mom would say, "Oh, she's still doing her research thing," like it was a hobby I hadn't outgrown yet. The comments started small. "Maybe you should have been more practical like your brother." Then they got sharper. My dad straight up told me at Christmas, "All that education and Tyler makes more in a week than you do in a month. Makes you wonder what the point was." My uncle asked if I'd ever considered doing something more lucrative. My grandmother suggested I ask Tyler for a job in his office. Last Thanksgiving was the worst. I'd just published a paper in a major environmental journal about contamination patterns in urban watersheds. Took me 2 years of research and data collection. I was excited to share it. My aunt asked about my work, and I started explaining the research. Before I could finish 2 sentences, Tyler interrupted with some story about power washing a 12,000 square foot mansion for a tech CEO. Everyone turned to listen to him. They laughed at his jokes, asked questions, wanted to see pictures. I sat there with my research paper nobody cared about, eating cold turkey. My mom later pulled me aside and said, "You know, honey, maybe you're too focused on work. Tyler's always so fun and successful. You seem stressed all the time." I stopped going to family dinners after that, made excuses, said I was busy, claimed I had deadlines. They barely noticed. Then last month, my phone rang at 11 p.m. Tyler's name lit up the screen. We hadn't actually spoken in 6 months. He was panicking, talking fast, voice shaking. The EPA was investigating him. They'd traced chemical contamination in 3 different protected wetlands back to his business. He'd been cutting corners for years, washing industrial chemicals, oil, heavy metals, straight into storm drains that fed directly into protected water systems. The fine was $250,000. His business license was suspended. He was facing potential criminal charges for environmental violations. He begged me to help him fight it, to find some loophole, to testify that the contamination wasn't that bad, that it could have come from somewhere else. I let him finish, let him plead his case. Then I said, "Tyler, I'm literally one of 3 people in the state certified to testify as an expert witness in wetland contamination cases. I wrote the manual they're using to prosecute you." The line went silent. I hung up.